And so mom and I grew up on the streets of Nashville, homeless. Projects, different dudes, soup kitchens, cars, you name it. But by the time I was 17, I didn't have the life I wanted. And so I looked for other ways to make friends and make money. But my whole life changed through a car wreck. And on that car wreck, I started realizing, dude, if I would have died in that car wreck, if I could wave a magic wand, everybody would get paid based on the value they bring. So if I clean a house, I'm not leaving after I clean the house. Putting up the hoses, I'm rolling everything up, I talk to the customer, and then I'm walking the neighborhood. And if branding is based on experience, then you need to hire people that you want to invite over for breakfast. Yeah, what you just asked is powerful. And wherever you see a lot of success, often there's been a lot of trauma.
Today, we're exploring Joshua's incredible story. He went from dealing drugs in North Carolina to running a multi-million-dollar business in Nashville. It's a real-life example of how strong faith and resilience can completely turn a life around. We're covering everything from his rough start to how he became the entrepreneur and mentor that he is today. Get ready for an honest, raw, and totally inspiring talk. Welcome to Built by Me. All right, let's get going. So, Joshua, welcome to the Built by Me podcast. Thank you for taking the time out of your day to spend the next hour or so talking to us about your story, your experiences, and your business. Really excited to dive in and learn about all the different aspects. We've done a lot of research. I'm not gonna lie. We've been spending a lot of time reading about you. And you've got a really cool story. So super excited to kind of have you on the podcast. So thank you for joining us.
Awesome. Thank you for having me. It really is a joy to be able to be here. And my hope is to add as much value to our listeners as possible. And so I'm ready and excited. Let's go.
That's awesome. And you're just for our listeners, you're in Nashville, right?
Nashville, Tennessee, beautiful city of.
Nice.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
I can
Everybody's
hear the
moving
accent.
here.
Everyone's moving there?
Yeah, everyone's moving here.
Is
You
it because
guys
of the
will be here
cost of
before you know
living?
it. Yeah, it's going to be like half of what, California, New York, some of the, Washington, so people are moving from those huge cities to the small city, country living.
It's kind of like what happened here in Canada. Like when COVID hit, everyone that was living in the big cities, said, I want a bigger house and a backyard and a pool, and the migration started happening like everywhere. Like it's crazy.
I did the opposite. Everyone was moving out of Ontario, and I was like, I'm moving to Toronto. Like, rent is so expensive. That's where I want to be. Like, what?
Hey, I love the setup you guys have too, with the camera angles too. It looks really cool. For our listeners, if you're listening, they've got a dope setup going on.
Yeah, come watch us on YouTube. If you're only listening, go watch us.
That's right.
Love it. Okay, so before we get too far in or too deep into the questions, tell us a little bit more about yourself. What do you like to do? Tell us your story.
Yeah, whenever someone kind of says, "Hey, will you tell me a little bit about your story?" I always start off with my mama, and it's because she's kind of my hero. I'll just give you a quick glimpse, real quick, but she was adopted from Kalamazoo, Michigan. Sorry, Detroit Lions, they just lost. I don't know when this is airing, but bad day.
And, tough loss.
Yeah, and so of the filming of this, we just experienced the loss of Detroit Lions. But my mom was adopted into a house in Rivergate, right outside of Nashville, kind of the ghetto. And some people have a great story when they get adopted. My mom, not so much. Her dad would go to jail by the time she's 13 for things he was doing to her. And her mom was addicted to alcohol and medication. And so it's a jacked up home. And so she ended up getting pregnant with me by a 21-year-old when she was 15. And when Frankie found out that he was going to have a baby, he did the opposite of what I would call a man is called to do. Instead of stepping up, owning, taking care of my mom, taking care of me, he bounced. He said, I'll pay for his abortion, but I won't be in his life. And so mom and I grew up on the streets of Nashville, homeless, projects, different dudes, soup kitchens, cars, you name it. So my childhood would be what you call dysfunction. And so long story short, I ended up becoming a drug dealer, pothead, high school dropout. My mentors, my father figures was Snoop Dogg, Dr. Dre, Ice Cube back in the day, some NWA. I love some Tupac, raise your hands if you. Yeah, there you go. So those guys were my mentors, my father figures, which made me live a life of a drug dealer. I didn't have a father figure to look up to. And
So
so,
back, so I want to back up a little bit. So when you talked about, obviously the story between you and your mother and moving from place to place, at what point did you become, because you mentioned drug dealer. So what point was, what age was that?
I was 17. I kind of dropped out of school. I was kind of a good kid, but a ghetto kid, like if you can have good and ghetto, I don't know, but we used to rattle the vending machines after football games and try to get some snacks out. But like my heart wanted to do right. But by the time I was 17, I didn't have the life I wanted. And so I looked for other ways to make friends and make money. And that
And were
was,
you in Nashville by now? Is this not now in Nashville, or are you still in Detroit?
nah, we moved around quite a bit. And so I was in Winston-Salem, North Carolina, inside of some places that I shouldn't have been at. But by the grace of God, I ended up, you didn't move towards this question yet, but my whole life changed through a car wreck. And on that car wreck, I started realizing, dude, if I would have died in that car wreck, all my friends would have done was tip their cups or smoke a blunt for me. And I was like, what, what a loser of a lifestyle. I was making no good, doing no difference. My life wasn't impacting anybody's.
And this
And
car
like
accident, was it at what age?
19, I had a friend named Pookie driving a 3000 GT Stealth, pearl white, super nice car. Throw your whole head back. And I had a thugged out Honda Prelude, 5% tint, 410s, 4 mids, tweets all around it. But he ran a red light. He ran a yellow light. I ran the red light. And another truck was running from the other side. And we ended up meeting in the middle. Long story short, from that, I just started feeling like, dude, I am living a life and making a difference on nobody. And I ended up showing up in the last night of a church service where I felt like God spoke to me. He didn't say I'm a loser. He didn't say I was going to hell, which probably would have been true. He said, Joshua, I love you. And dude, a guy like me, hearing and feeling that there's a God who loves me, it was everything I needed. And I had my girlfriend with me, and I was like, dude, I wish this pastor would quit speaking, because God's speaking to my heart. And I went forward, gave the pastor my pot, and gave God my heart. And that was in 1997. Ended up marrying my girlfriend, and we've been married 25 years, 6 kids, and
6
a lot of
kids.
life. Let's go.
Wow.
Yeah, I got a 21-year-old. Yeah, I got a
Wow.
21-year-old getting married, and I got it all the way down to a 2-year-old, all biological.
Wow. That's a big range.
It's worth it, man, because
Mhm.
if you look in your childhood, you can often figure out why you behave the way you do today. And so since my dad didn't want me, I was like, I'll take as many as I can have, until my wife was like, baby, we've had as many as you're going to have. So
Yeah.
we tapped out at 6.
That's
Interesting. Super interesting. So you, okay, so going back to the drug dealer, car accident, and then, you went to church, and then what happened next?
And went to school, get a GED, because I was a dropout. And then I went to the church and was like, hey, what do I need to do now? Like if I'm not selling drugs and smoking weed and, doing things dirty, like what am I supposed to do now? And they ended up saying, hey, maybe you should go to school. And so I went to college, got a Bachelor of Arts in pastoral ministry, Christian counseling. And from there, I started working inside the church. So I have over 22 years of vocational church ministry experience until I just, I was like aging out. I don't even know the term. You guys might end up asking some questions that help pull it out. But I felt like I was growing other people's businesses, and church can be a business sometimes. And I felt like that's not what I signed up for. I didn't sign up to lead, first impressions and campus ministry. And, I loved working with students and families like that. I love people, period. But I just I felt used, if it's okay to say that. I don't know if you've ever been in a business where you felt like you're being used more than serving more. And I wanted to serve more and figure out how to make some money, because when you got 4 kids, I was jumping inside the dumpsters of Kirkland's, just pulling out pitchers and candles, so I'm like at a good church, but like a single family income with 4 kids, we're living on food stamps. Yeah, like there's not a lot of money, so I had to figure out a way to provide.
Especially in the ministry, I feel like there's not as much money that comes behind that because there's so much more value. And how did you go from that then to starting your pressure washing company? Why pressure washing in general? Why not something else?
There's people in the world that they call geniuses, and the reason they're geniuses is because they solve problems that other people can't do. And I couldn't figure out how to solve that problem, so I went to Google the genius, and I Googled top 5 businesses to open for 5K or less. And I wasn't about to start taking pictures of cats. Today I love cats. We've got one, but
Wait, what? That
pressure.
was one business
Was
to
was
take
that
a
another
picture of
option?
cats.
Yeah,
A cat
photography.
photographer.
Yeah. Man, people love their animals, and if you give someone a picture of their animal, they're gonna and you can dope it up all you want. Probably with AI now, you can have a lot of fun with people's cats. But
Wait, so that was
uh,
number one is photographer, pet photographer, or just photography in general?
photography in general, but it was pets was on it. So if you click that link, it ended up giving you like different avenues that you could go. And I checked it out. Like I'm studying. What all can we do here? And what else was on there was pressure washing. And I'm like, dude, you can't. I mean, what? And so I had a friend. I ended up working with him for a half of a day. He made $800 in 4 hours, and I'm like, bro, you are rich, dude. And
Sign me up.
$800 in 4 hours. I'm like, you're rolling. I have to work Papa John's, Uber, and Lyft all week long to make $800.
Honestly,
And
yeah.
from there, I built a trailer, spent like 5K, building a trailer, putting a pressure wash on it. And that was 2016 in the summer, played around with it. And I was like, okay, I think this works while working at a job. And the next year I went full time. Well, when I say full time, I still worked a full time job, but I was like, you know what? I'm going to try to grow this thing. So we did some marketing, did some leadership, did some sales, and we did 225,000 year one, 443 year two, 700 and change year three, and almost $1 million in year four while working at a
That's
church.
wild. Mm.
Yeah.
Were you the one actually going and doing these jobs? Like you were pressure washing the houses and still working your full time job, and had a
I would say
family?
it was a side. It was like I was the guy doing it in the evening and on Saturdays. And I was a family man, so like I still dated my kids. Because you're in ministry, a lot of times you do get to take your kids with you and you can make your own schedule. So I had a little flexibility. But I did sit in my bedroom and I'm like, okay, if I'm going to open a business, what am I going to have to give up to go up? And I was like, well, I'm going to stop working out in the morning. So, I gave working up out for a season. I gave up working out because I had to replace that time with marketing and CRM and sending messages to people and playing around with the website. And then at night, I had to stop doing video games. I didn't have time to play video games. I used that same time to learn how to market and Facebook and understand what it took. And so I also invited people into the business. So I had other people working while I was working. And so very quickly I moved to a position of like sales and leadership development while my team went out and started cleaning. And that's really what opened up the doors is having a team that was able to do those things.
Yeah, I love that quote. What do I have to give up to go up? That's really cool.
Yeah.
What was the first position you kind of got or hired for on your team?
It was at church camp. I needed someone to grab phones when I'm working with teenagers in the middle of the mountains. And so I asked my sister, I said, hey, would you take $5 per lead on the phones? Now, this was 2016. So every time phone rang and she got a lead, she made $5. And so, it's not a slave to her, but that was number one. And then number two was starting to get technicians that could clean. And so that was the next hire was having people clean when I couldn't.
So how did you manage, like, you talk about 9 to 5 and doing your job, and did the church know that you were kind of doing this on the side, or was it kind of like a kept secret? And how did you kind of manage that? Was there any conflicts of interest? And because I think for a lot of our listeners out there, like people that have this aspiration of like starting their own business or their own side hustle or whatever it is, and there's always that like leap you have to take where you like, you know what, I'm done, I'm quitting my job now and I'm gonna go do this full time. So how did that? Maybe you can tell us a little bit about that.
Well, 4 years is a long time to hold on to your full-time job. And because you're in ministry, you have a little bit of flexibility. So there's jobs that, you know, you might be, you know, you have youth Wednesday nights, you might have a lock-in on Friday, Saturday. You go visit kids at nighttime. And so my pastor was open to me having a side hustle. And so he didn't see it as a conflict. He was very kind. And so I think that's one of the things. And I did go to him and share. And I was super nervous. You're the first person to ask this question. But when I went and talked to my pastor, I was a little anxious. I wanted to lie about it. You know, I want to be like,
Yeah.
you know, but
Start this
but I
business,
was,
no big deal. Anyway, so what's going on?
yeah. And so, but he was kind enough to say, yeah, sure. How are you going to work that? And I'm like, hey, I'm going to be creative with my schedule. I was able to do block calendaring. And so as long as I put in my 40, I could use other 4-hour blocks throughout the week to grow the business. So we all got 3-4 hour blocks of every day, the way I see it. And I'd use maybe 3 or 4 blocks for business and then blocks for family and then blocks for ministry. And also when you're in your late 30s, you should be able to produce based on experience, where it might take one dude, 10 hours to prepare for a message. You've spoken, you've read, you know the scriptures well enough where you can share. So there was also just experience to be able to do more in less time and then manage teams.
Yeah, no, it's really motivational, to be honest with you, because a lot of people, they always think that, like that jump is like a direct cutoff, right? Where sometimes it doesn't have to be. You can even have a conversation with your supervisor or with your job or your employer and say, hey, like, here's what's happening. I'm kind of letting you know ahead of time and be open and honest about it, right? So I think that I really like that approach.
Yeah, I think our brains kind of need to be open up to this value-based pay mindset or performance-based pay. And I almost feel like if I could wave a magic wand, everybody would get paid based on the value they bring when they bring it. And if we think like that I'm not an hourly guy, I'm a value guy. And so what value can I bring to this organization and what return can I get from the value I bring? And so it's a little bit of a mind shift where you're like, dude, I can help grow this without it being hourly or salary. Why don't you base my worth on the value that I create inside your organization? So if you join a team, do you want to, it's almost becoming your own business. Yeah, man. I don't know
Yeah.
if you guys are hourly or salary, but imagine if you would get paid based on the value you bring. I'm going to grow this thing. And if I grow it, I'd like to be able to make some extra, so anyway.
I think the thing where it gets a little fuzzy with that, though, is how do you quantify that? So it's like, how can one person, especially when there's different kinds of roles in an organization as well. So it's like one thing might be seen as more valuable depending on what goal we're trying to achieve, So I get what you're saying. And especially with your team, and we can go more about this later on as well. I know you have a different way of paying your employees or your team. And that's really great in the service industry. I feel like it's harder to quantify in some other businesses. Be like, how much value do you bring, and that's how much we're going to pay you. You know what I mean?
Well, if we're losing money and we're losing time, you're going to make less money.
Yeah.
And if we're growing and bringing in more money and more time, and if the organization is going up, well, let's all win. Why not throw some confetti in the air and everybody wins? But why pay someone for failure? Why should you stay the same? If you're bringing the company down, like you're an energy sucker versus an energy producer, and we got to find people that will produce energy when they step into a room.
Yeah, no, I love that, actually, because I think it's a different mindset, mind shift, to be honest with you, with thinking about how to grow your business. A lot of times entrepreneurs, business owners think that they have to do everything, right? And they have to be, it's all about kind of them. But if you actually are bringing in a team and you treat them fairly and you actually pay them based on their performance, they're going to want to perform. They're going to want to bring value to your business. So your business is naturally going to grow, just by you paying them for that performance. I want to switch a little bit. I want to talk a little bit about the numbers, to be honest with you, because I'm pretty interested on that. So you talked about trailer. Can you break down the numbers for us, like how you kind of started your business and what that looked like? Because you talked about starting a business for under $5,000. I think that's what you Googled.
Yeah, that's why I Googled. It may have cost 7K to start up, and it went quick.
Give or
But
take.
to jump into the numbers real quick, this was also 2016. We have
Yeah.
had 2020. We have had inflation like never before. Like here, and I don't know what things are feeling in other parts of the country or the world, but numbers are not the same that it was. You know, eggs are like $9 where we're at. They used to be like $2.
I know.
and so where I started is not where I would start if I had to start it all over again. Where I started was scrappy, you know, and I was willing to go on Facebook Marketplace, find a trailer, paint it, sand it. When you don't have money, you have to exchange your time for value. And so instead of just buying a nice trailer or a dope setup, I had to personally make it happen. And so I used my family vehicle, threw some stickers on it, grabbed some door hangers, some yard signs, and just went as cheap as I could or as affordable as I could make it. And so I probably spent 7K starting up. If you're to do that again, like bare bones, I think you need 15 to 20K just to bare bone it, man, to just get a simple trailer, a pressure washer, chemical tank, a couple of hoses, water bumper, and use your vehicle to pull that bad boy around, throw some stickers on it, and you can start from there. Your brand is really what people experience when they're around you. It ain't the dog. It ain't the pressure washing wand. It's not your sweet little logo. It's what do people feel when you step into the room? And so as long as you can get on site and love people, you can grow your business. And that was the secret sauce inside of our company is like, everything starts with the leader and then it funnels all the way down from there. And if the leader genuinely loves and cares about people, and in a company, you've got 3 different groups of people. You've got your customers, your team, and your vendors. If you love those dudes, they're going to love you back by sending people your way. And so I think our secret sauce was I had experienced so much love and grace in my own life. It was easier for me to pour it out inside of other people's. Like I don't get mad about hardly anything because I buried people for a living. I buried people. How am I going to get upset about a customer not paying or we killed a tree again?
Yeah. So
It's
you
like,
look at the bigger picture.
for sure, we're only here for a short amount of time. And it's like, why don't you start with the end in mind? And the end is when I'm no longer here, the only thing that really matters is the impact that I made on everyone else's life. And was that impact a negative impact or was it a positive one? And when they're looking at my body, unless I'm cremated, I want them to see a dad. I want them to see a husband. I want them to see a man who loved them. That's it. And so if you start there, man, everything else is
Everything else comes
fishing.
easy. Yeah, I like
Yeah.
that. I like that. Honestly, like that mindset makes a big difference, right? Is when you're constantly thinking about your role and your job and you know, everything is go, go, go. Like we live in a time that's just like super fast. But if you kind of focus on like, you know, the important stuff, I think the rest of it comes, right? If you as long as you have the drive and the motivation. I wanted to go back though. I mean, you talked about your, you know, the setup. So you said $7,000 ish, 15 to 20K today's numbers.
Yeah.
What did that kind of look like from time of setup to like new customer? Did you kind of go door to door? Like how did you kind of, you know, put a name for yourself and get those first couple customers?
So, one thing that you'll waste time on is reading all the different people that give you all the different advice. And what I had is I had a mentor, you know, I had a friend that I could call. I wasn't confused on what to do because I had a who that knew what to do. And so I would reach out to my mentor and get clarity on what I should do. And it was very simple. You know, it was meet people, put your phone number up, get your Google profile manager up, you don't have to pay for leads. I didn't at the beginning. And you just tell people what you do. And then Facebook is free. And so if you clean a house, if you throw things out there, there's community groups that you can post on. And so I used what I knew based on what I did in ministry and just did the same thing inside the business. And so if I was giving someone a blueprint, I would say, hey, you know, get you maybe some graphics, find some AI that can help you create a logo and a name, make sure your name doesn't confuse, and then get door hangers, get a yard sign, get some equipment, and just start doing it. And if you do a good job, people are going to refer you to other people. And then on every job, I didn't leave after the job. So if I clean a house, I'm not leaving after I clean the house. I'm putting up the hoses, I'm rolling everything up, I talk to the customer, and then I'm walking the neighborhood and I'm putting door hangers on every single door. If you do that consistently every couple of weeks, week in, week out, you're going to end up getting leads. And if you're not getting leads, it's probably has something to do with how you clean, or how you look at people, because people will know whether or not you're trying to use them or you're trying to take care of them. And so I really think if you're going to open a business, I'm sorry to talk so much, but if you're going to open a business, make sure you make that person, take care of that person, love that person, serve them. They're going to become a raving fan. And one of my best stories on this is I ended up cleaning a dude's house very early on with a van, and this little bitty vent cleaner on the top of his eaves fell down, hit the ground, and broke. And I was like, oh crap, that guy's vent, whatever you call that thing, broke. I didn't know the name of it. And I'm like, should I grab it, throw it into the truck, and act like it never happened, which is the quick fix, right? Like, it's quick. He'll never know. Or do I let Mr. Jones know? His name wasn't Jones. And it's like, well, do the And I went up to Mr. Jones afterwards, and I'm like, dude, I broke your little vent thingy. And he's like, it's okay, don't worry about it. I was like, no, I broke it. I'm going to take care of it. I didn't know what they were called. I didn't have a ladder tall enough to reach his top eave. It was second story. I was like, hey, I'm going to have to go get a ladder. I had to go buy one, and I'm going to find out how to replace this part. I replaced it. And afterwards he said this, you need to meet my wife. And I was like, okay. And she oversees where the governor lives in the largest area, the largest, nicest neighborhood. You need to introduce her. I need to introduce her to you. And it's just one simple action of doing what's right can open up a massive opportunity. And then they invited me to property management meetings. So think about this for a second. Because I made a choice to do what's right, I get invited to a room of property managers. These guys overseas millions of dollars worth of business, and they're introducing me to their people, all because I just did the right thing. And so that's what I encourage you, man. Be faithful, do the right thing, and over time you're going to grow.
See, it's interesting, like that incident right there. When you first look at it, you're like, this is going to cost me time. It's going to cost me money. It's going to be a burden. I'm going to be late for my next appointment or whatever it is that you have going on, right? That turned into like a much larger opportunity, right? So I think it's that's a really good point. You also mentioned something that I think is super interesting, and I think it's really important, especially in the service-based industry, is getting a mentor, like someone that can tell you, hey, don't do that, do this, or a lot of times people don't want to do that, right? They want to be like, I'm on my own, I'm doing this entrepreneur thing, I'm gonna fail, it's gonna be okay. But it's like, you don't have to, right? Like, someone's walked already in those shoes, and like, you can just take a pause and just go back and ask somebody. So I applaud you for that, because a lot of people don't want to ask, right? They're not comfortable with it, at least.
Yeah. I think another great thing that you mentioned, or I guess the correlation between all the other jobs that you've had and the skills that you've gained from that, is community, and being able to foster that community and get to know people. And like, I really liked what you said about, are you going to take care of someone, or are you going to take advantage of them? And being able to take care of the people who work with you, the people who you're servicing, is something that maybe you've learned that from ministry, or maybe that's just the type of person that you are, but that goes a long way. And word of mouth, referrals, reviews, those are things that people really value, because that's all we have to go off of. If they don't know your work yet, you have to go based off of what you've done before and from what other people have told you. So, and that's really cool. Speaking of turning your customers into raving fans, today's episode is sponsored by Nice Job. Nice Job is a online reputation marketing software that helps you easily get more reviews, outrank your local competition, and win more sales. It puts review generation, referrals, and social media content on autopilot so you can work smarter and not harder. So check it out at nicejob.com. I also wanted to ask how you even learned to pressure wash, how you even learned to be good at it, because that's a whole other aspect of it. Because you have to be good at what you do for people to want to keep coming back. So did you shadow someone?
Yeah, I worked a half of a day with my friend. That was not enough time. And so, yeah, half of a day, and everything else is trial and error. but you don't have to do that anymore. If you'll go to pressurewashingpastor.com, sign up for a free webinar. Yeah. So we've created a boot camp. We've created video courses. Like, you don't have to figure it out anymore. Like, we have created the blueprint on how to do this, and you get hands-on training. So I'd find somebody that you want to be like and surround yourself with them. And it's more important in my head that the character of the person you learn from, it comes before the technical skills that you want to learn from, because the people you work with will teach you what they know, but they'll reproduce who they are. And you don't want to end up 5 years from now and become a person you never meant to be. And so I think character first, competency second.
And that's your advice for getting a team as well? Like, yes, for a mentor, but hiring a team.
Yeah. For me, there's a conflict of conversations here. Do you hire competency or do you hire character? And for the pressure washing game, it's character over competency. We want both, but if I have to choose between this person represents the core values of our company, or this person can make us a lot of cash, I'm going to choose the guy that represents the values of our company. And then we'll teach the competencies. And Jim Collins wrote a book called Good to Great. And it's like, if you get the right people on the bus, you can find a position for them on the bus. And so for me, I just want to hire great people, give them satisfying work, and then pay them well.
Mm-hmm. How did you even find the people that you're working with today? And what made you decide to? I know you're in how many different cities now? 10 different cities?
We're in a handful of cities, and we're looking to open more, specifically with kingdom-minded entrepreneurs, because they represent the mindset that we want to reproduce. And so the way that I found people was basically asking. My head was, once you start, I don't know what kind of vehicle you guys drive.
I don't have a car anymore.
I drive a Honda CRV.
Yeah, once you buy a vehicle, you start seeing that vehicle everywhere. And once you open a business, you start seeing people everywhere. And I don't care if you're at Chick-fil-A or Cane's or Sam's Club, there are people all around you looking for a job. And your job is to give them a job that they want to have. There's a book that's called 3 Signs of a Miserable Job. And if you can learn what a miserable job looks like and then reverse engineer that, you then can offer people jobs that they enjoy being at. And so that's the culture we create. And then this is where we find people at. Do y'all have disc golf? Ultimate Frisbee where you're at?
We've heard of it.
So on the Ultimate Frisbee field, on a Thursday night after work, guys are playing Ultimate Frisbee. At the flag football game, like, do things outside of business, and you're going to find people, and they'll be like, hey, what do you do for a living? You're like, nah, we just clean houses. We try to love people. And it's like, okay, they want to be around you. In today's society, people would rather have a good experience than make great money. If you can get both, great. But I'd be quick to give up money for a good culture to be around and a mission.
Yes. Yeah, that's a good point, because I think you mentioned a little bit earlier about your team and how you pay your team. Can you tell us a little bit about that? And at what point did you say, hey, did you start that way from day one, or did you kind of pivot towards it, is also the other thing I'd like to know.
A millionaire came down and asked, would you be interested in selling your business, or do you need a financial partner? And I'm like, I don't need an investor. I don't need a partner. I need a salesman. And he said, at the end of our conversation, he said, have you ever considered moving your company to performance-based pay? I didn't even know what the heck performance-based pay was. I was like, yeah, I thought about it. I wasn't even confident what it was, but I understood a little bit that you pay people based on the work that they do. He said, every company we purchase, we turn it over from hourly salary to performance-based pay. We see a 30% increase in productivity and a 40% increase in pay. Let's process this for a second. They become more productive and they make more money.
Yeah. And I'm sure there's also that sense of ownership as well that you mentioned before, where it's just, if you are in charge of how much money you can be making, you don't feel as though, oh, I'm doing this for Joshua. It's like, I'm doing this for myself, I'm doing this for my family, and like, I'm coming to do a good job because I know I'll get paid more if I do a good job.
Yeah.
So Joshua, how does that work? Can you give us an example of like in your work right now as a pressure washing business? I come to work for you today. What does that kind of look like? Is it based on appointments? Is it based on like the satisfaction of the customer? Like, how does that work?
Yeah, and so there's different ways that you can set it up. This is the way that we've set it up. We try to pay around 20 to 22% of whatever job individually to the team member. So if I have a $1,000 job and you go off and clean it, should take you about 4 to 5 hours to do that. If you're to make 22%, that's $220. And then if you end up hitting a metrics of getting a review, no callbacks, kind of like the bonus realm, putting out a door hanger or something. If you do these behaviors, you then get up to 3 more percent. And so then you can make $250 in about a 4 5 hour job. And so that's basically how it works. And then we say, and you get 5% of anything you upsell to that customer, and you can get up to 10% on anything that you sell to the neighbors. And so now you've got a technician that has the ability to sell. I mean, if you sell a job for $300 or $400, just selling it, you just made $30, $40, and then you get to clean it. You make 22% on top of that. You're making 32% of the work that you're doing, and now you're able to control your own day. We would try to encourage them to try to hit $1,500 a day. We've learned if our techs can clean $1,500 a day, they can make over $60K a year. Inside of a home service based business, that's not a bad number to hit, at least in our market. And then we have sales positions that make based on their sales percentage. They get 8% of whatever they sell. Then they get, I want to say 13% on anything that they generate. So if we pay Google to give us a call for $60, and we you get 8% of whatever you sell there. But if you go around to the neighbors, you stop at an apartment complex, if you build relationships, you can get 13% of that, which ends up being a lot of cash. So salesmen have the ability to make the most amount of money.
So I love that, because you turn the technician into a sales and marketing, person or employee as well. So that's really, really cool. Would you say that was sort of the catalyst for your business? Like, was that the turning point? Like, was there a turning point that you experienced where you're like, because from what we've seen, what we've researched, is you've grown your business pretty fast, right? Like from starting to where you are today, it's pretty impressive how fast you've been able to grow year over year.
Yeah. So for clarity, I've launched 2 businesses out of our business over the course of 7 years. So I launched a concrete coatings business out of our business, and I launched an outdoor lighting business out of our business. No investors. Our overhead is super low as far as, like, if you were to look at our numbers, we did 1.8 last year, and pressure washing Christmas lights. We grew really fast, and I don't know what to really say, like, the credit is of it. Like, it would be very prideful for me to say our guys are the best, or we just have better marketing. Man, there's people that are smarter than us, that have better marketing than us. We've just been very fortunate to be able to experience the growth that we've had. And our guys, they seem to, our guys represent the company. So I think, like, yes, on performance-based pay, but yes, on hiring guys that other people want to rehire, or our customers want to come back every year. If I was hiring poor character and poor guys, I think we wouldn't be where we are today. And so I would say, like, we had a guy come up this past week for a boot camp and a workshop. He's opening a business in Raleigh, North Carolina. Most people's mindset, and it seemed like this was kind of similar to his mindset, was, how do you hire people for the least amount of money and get the most amount of work out of them? And that's normal, but I think it's backwards, because if you hire the least that you can get, the work that they're going to do is the brand your customer is going to experience. And if branding is based on experience, then you need to hire people that you want to invite over for breakfast, that you'd invite over for Thanksgiving. And I think between the performance-based pay and really trying to find people that you would want to hang out with outside of work has been the secret, another secret sauce, that we've had.
Yeah, I think especially with home services as well, there's something personal about going to someone's home, and especially when you're cleaning something for them or doing some kind of service, you're kind of seeing them in a state of vulnerability a little bit because this is the before. So having someone that someone feels comfortable talking to, showing them this will be definitely helpful for a home service type of business.
Yeah, and
I
there's
wanted to
good
ask you.
people.
I wanted to ask you about the other side of your business, like the whole. I'm gonna call it just for the audience is like the business in a box, where you kind of give them the idea of like, hey, here's how to become how to open up a pressure washing company, right? And you have a boot camp, and you have courses and webinars and so on and so forth. Can you tell us a little bit about that? Like, how does that all work today?
So when you start a new wing in a business, it's almost like pregnancy. And so we've had a lot of labor pains. We've had a lot of things we've got to learn along the way, right? Like having a baby ain't easy. And then once you have a baby, you learn a lot of things you didn't know before you had that baby. And so I would say there's just been a lot of learning and a lot of work that is created to be able to give a product that you would want to be a part of. And so inside of business, one of my things is like, if you guys came over to my house, I'm going to make you the best food that I possibly can make you. I'm going to prepare for you the best coffee with fresh beans, good grind, a slow drip, purified water, the best water that we can have.
Sounds like you like coffee.
Yeah, yeah.
I like
Explains it in
giving
detail.
people great experiences. When you create video courses or boot camps or a webinar or licensees, I'm trying to figure out as we build it, how do I give something to somebody that I would want to be given if I was in their shoes? And so we've basically partnered up with Upflip, and they've created a video course. And then their whole thing was like, hey, we want to be able to provide a video course that if someone never had ever touched a pressure washer before, they could take the course and open up their business. And I said, well, that's a really good thought. But if you're really wanting to serve somebody, they need to experience it. They need to have the machines, the wands, the surface cleaner, the customers. They need to feel it. And so that's where we came up with the boot camps. I've started learning that, hey, we need to do market analysis for anybody that wants to start up their own business, because you might be real like enthused, but you got no facts. And so one thing we do is after our webinars, we offer a market analysis with our avatar in their territory. That has really been able to open up their eyes, and then they get 30-minute consultation. And then I'm able to say, you need to move, because if you want to open a pressure washing business, where you live in ain't where it's at.
Yeah. That's interesting, actually. So you're
Hey,
kind of basically telling them that, hey, this is going to work in your area or not. You actually give them that assessment as well, which is key.
Yeah, for dirt cheap, based on my
Like I live,
experience, my avatar.
like it's snowing outside here. I don't think there's gonna be a lot of pressure washing going on here for a while, right? So it's like, yeah, it's a good point.
Yeah, and then helping them see the blind spots, And so, anyway, long story. So we try to give people the experience that we would want. I've got children, and so the way I look at life is, what would I do for my child, and how can I do that for you? Because if I would give you the experience that I would want to give my child, I'm taking care of you. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
And so that's what we're doing on the other side is we're trying to provide a ton of value with courses and boot camps and market analysis and coaching to be able to say, because our goal isn't to open up pressure washing companies. Our goal is to help people open up pressure washing companies. And if you're the wrong person in the wrong city, you may need to be coached out of opening up and blowing your money.
For sure. And are these people that coming here, are they when they sort of graduate, if you will, from the courses and the webinars and the boot camps, are they now opening up a Brown's pressure washing
It's
like
up to
location?
them.
It's up to them. I see. So it's
Yeah,
not
it's up to
necessarily like a
them.
franchise model where it's like we're going to kind of show you the ropes and then you're going to have to franchise and use the same name.
Yeah, so we have B2B licensing, and so we will license, but it has to be the right person. And so I'd rather first help them get through, do you really want to open your company? Do you have a good market that you're part of? You're in the right city. And then as we build a relationship, it's kind of like dating somebody and making them your wife. It's or husband. It's like, before I say I do, can we, or jump in the bed together, can we at least get to know each other a little bit? And so we will offer some an opportunity to jump in, a relationship, but it is a relationship, and I don't want to be in a relationship with somebody that I wouldn't enjoy being in a relationship with. And so we try to make sure they hit like 4 core values. Servant leaders, I call that, humility, that they don't lie, they tell the truth. Nobody wants to be around a liar. So it's honesty. Hardworking, like when it's snowing outside, what are you going to do? And you got gutters to clean out snow, or, in your city, you might have to be snow plowing. And so you got to be a hard worker. And I'm telling you what, I only had 3 core values until I started opening up new locations, and I added a 4th value. And the 4th one might be the most, I can't put it over servant leadership and integrity, but man, it sure does help if someone is hungry or they want to eat. If somebody doesn't want to eat, man, they're not fun to work with. If they're hungry, they have a growth mindset. That is somebody that's fun to, come on, let's go. We want a hungry dog, like not a full dog. They're going to stay at home, sit around the fire and watch the flames when it's snowing outside.
I have one question before we sort of wrap up. When you look back and you sort of reflect on, your past, like obviously you've shared a ton of information today with us, and thank you for doing that. But when you reflect on your past and your journey, do you see any commonality or anything in things that are in common when you obviously you had a rough childhood, you turned into drug dealer, went to pastor, pressure washing. Do you have, obviously, you're a person that reflects, so I'm assuming so, right? So do you see any commonalities between all of these things as you reflect back on where you are now?
Yeah, what you just asked is powerful. And wherever you see a lot of success, often there's been a lot of trauma. And I would say my father wounds has produced my desire to love people so I could receive love from people. And if you want to get deep or get what drives somebody to be successful, you can look at all the different research and kind of get into their childhood, but somewhere they were missing love. And so they tried to get love by different means. And the way that I've tried to receive love is by loving others. And so that is what's called a shadow of your past. The thing that motivates you today is often the shadows of your past. And so I think fatherhood, trauma, identity, not knowing who I am, it's a good thing because it's motivated me. It's motivated me to like be aggressive and pursue success. But it also is a demon because it can end up not being fulfilled by the people that you want to fulfill it. And let's talk about our kids and our wife. When they don't fulfill the role or the business or whatever you want to receive love from, when they don't feel it, what happens? Do you break down? Do you end up treating them any differently? And so I think now that I'm 46 years old, headed to 47, I recognize that the fuel of my love has often been the lack of it in my past.
That's powerful. That's awesome. Super inspirational stuff.
Yeah, thank you. You shared so many good nuggets in this episode. A lot of quotable things as well. Like you feel like you should have a t-shirt line. But to kind of wrap it up, what business advice would you give to someone who wants to be where you are now?
I believe because of podcasting, YouTube, AI, there is no better time to join a big brand. And I really do believe that, whether it's pressure washing or landscaping or mosquito killing, the brand has the ability to gain traction that a mom and pop shop just don't have the energy and time to do. I am sitting here in my office on a podcast with YouTube, and because I've said brand with metadata, everything that we do and talk about in the future, it's going to be branded. And so, like, my advice to anybody starting a business, find somebody that you admire and try to join their team versus you starting your own team. you're more likely to burn a lot of cash. And what we learn, if you take a personality profile, is that you probably aren't that great at everything. So you might as well surround yourself with people that can make up for your deficiencies. You know what I'm saying?
It's a good point.
We
It's a
need
very good point.
I feel like a lot of times, especially in the society, everyone wants to be an entrepreneur, everyone wants to own their own business. But honestly, if we're being honest, not everyone can. And we need people to join teams, and you can still be just as successful. You can still have the same pride. You can still have the same sense of ownership on a brand and on a team versus starting your own thing. And like you said, burning your cash, not knowing what to do because of ego.
Yeah, don't spend that $15K just yet. Join someone who's pressure washing, learn the business first, and then see if you still actually want to continue.
Yeah. That's the thing as well. Like if you started your own company, you started your own business, you do it and you're doing it for like 2 years, you spent all this money and you realize you actually hate this. You actually don't want to do this anymore because you really need that passion to keep you driving. So what do you do then? Now it's like sunk costs. You've already spent all this money. Do you move forward? What do you do? So that's really good advice, honestly.
Awesome.
You guys are so good.
Joshua, thank you obviously so much for the time. Really appreciate it.
Yeah, this was so great. Thank you so much for joining us and for being willing to hop on our podcast. This was a great conversation. Really enjoyed it.
So Joshua, for our listeners, if you want to, maybe plug something for our listeners where they can find you, learn about you.
Yeah, 2 things. If you want to see the sexiest pressure washing website, go to brownspressurewashing.com and copy what we've done. Just look at, I've paid a lot of people a lot of money to do what we've done. Look at what I do and then do that. And then if you want coaching, want to learn video courses, check out a webinar, go to thepressurewashingpastor.com. We also have a YouTube channel, Brown's Pressure Washing, where we talk about ministry in the marketplace.
Joshua does not gatekeep. He said, use what I've already spent money on because
That's
why
right.
spend money on? Love to
That's
see
what I
it.
did.
Awesome. Thanks, Joshua. All the best to you, and we'll talk soon, hopefully.
Yeah.
Until next time.
And that wraps up our episode with Joshua Brown from Brown's Pressure Washing. To learn more about Joshua, his businesses, or his story, check out the links in the description and the show notes below. Stay tuned for more episodes, and don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe to our channel, and follow us on social media at Built by Me Podcast. Until next time, keep building.